Good morning, comrades. It's a lovely morning here at the Space Center. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and there is, as always, not a cloud in the sky to be seen anywhere. A perfect day for a launch, don't you think? I am Admiral Andre, and I welcome you back to our career on this Friday. It's Friday evening here now, but in the game it's year 1, day 157. Right, so the mods continue again, comrades, but I think now we have reached our limit. I'm still staying away from any graphics or visual mods in terms of clouds or terrain textures or anything like that, simply because the next Kerbal update will deal with terrain textures, so that will definitely break any kind of visual overhaul mods. So I think the ones that we have should be safe for that, but I have to stop right here with the mods because I now have surface lights, surface mounted lights. We have that. We also have what's the other one? I did install the Strategia mod. I think it looks fantastic actually, and it doesn't seem to break anything, so let's try using that. I'll show you that in a moment, again just so it's different than normal. But actually, before we go further, let's just go into the tracking station and just have a look at everything. So last time, of course, we launched the Lumina 4 and 5 missions. That was P. Maynard. So this was the vessel that I said we can use as an impactor for the future. I think I'll leave it here for now then. But then Lumina 4, which is named after Kurt J. Mack, is right there in orbit. And then of course we have Danny 2462, which is our first relay satellite around the moon. Now I was thinking it's probably best to rename this satellite again, just because this is not just a Lumina satellite, this is a relay satellite. So in that sense we should name this relay satellites after something else so we know it's different. So let's just go into Lumina 5, double click there, and I think we'll just put star at the end of everything that's a communication satellite. So this is Lumina Star 1, and that's still named after Danny, so accept that, Lumina Star 1. Then if we have another Lumina, it will become Lumina 5, so we still have 4, so 5 now falls away. I just want to open up our debris again, which is now hectic here, but this is also how I'll have to remember to number things, because some of the satellites already have numbers, but they are hidden because they are commercial satellites. Anyway, not gonna worry about this too much now, but we can still see all of them here. Right, close that again. Now, what's on the menu for today? Actually, again, let me go back to the tracking station. I think our maps are finished. I don't have to go into the tracking station, but it seems to be fitting. So there's our altimetry map of Kerbal. It's completely finished, and we can now see various terrain heights all over the planet, which is a very nice thing. Plus we can of course add waypoints and anything like that. It makes it really interesting. Now if we want to zoom in here, I have to right click, and then we get this, of course, low resolution map. So from this we can go further. So there's the airfield, so the Kerbal Space Center is right there, and then we can see from there the 0 meters altitude rises 500, 1000, 1500, 2000. So it's not a very fine-grained scan. It only works per 500 meter blocks. So still it gives us a nice overview. If we go to the moon, that one is also finished, I think. So again, the same thing, it's not going to give us very detailed readouts, only per 500 meter blocks, but we can now clearly see where the lower areas are, where the higher altitudes are. That's the white areas on the map. For example, the poles are extremely high in elevation, whereas these mid-latitude flats are quite low. There's a 500, there's a 0, so that's the lowest point it seems. Also in that crater right there. So this might make it really interesting if we eventually look for a base and landing spots and so on. Right, back out. Now, comrades, let's have a look at Strategia. That completely overhauls the strategies that we can have in our administration building. Now, to that end, also, we should just have a look now. I should clear these messages. The P Maynard debris was destroyed. One of the lowest stages was recovered. Another one was recovered. Another one was recovered. The reason it was destroyed there is because those solid boosters hit one another after separation. So there's another one that was destroyed. We placed the relay sat in orbit of the moon, so we got $28 million for that. And we also conducted the low resolution scan of the moon, which is now finished. So that's another almost 90 million. So we're back up to $2 billion. So I think we can upgrade the admin building. But I always like, as I said before, I like details. Now we can see they used plastic chairs in the background, a really cheap plastic table to do space science and organize parts, plus find the lunch thief. And that's quite a funny thing that they keep doing. And they imagine themselves on the moon as well, and how you put rockets together. Now we're going to go on to the next level. So we can now only have one strategy. Now we can have two. So bang, that is $150 million, and that was a new kind of animation there with the figures floating there. But anyway, now we can have two. Now we see they have actually much nicer chairs in the background, swivel chairs. There's a coffee pot lying there. They have a whiteboard, fundraising, lobbying, begging, swindling, or sell grandma's antiques. Lunch thief still at large. Get money here. So you see they become more proficient at finding sources of funding, which I really like. It's nice details again. Now, how does this work? It actually gives all of these Kerbals now, and it adds Gene Kerman and Werner von Kerman here as well. And every one of them is now responsible for a series of possible strategies. Now, I haven't looked at all of these, so I'm not perfectly familiar with them all. It looks like we can only take the ones that are highlighted. So the moon program, then what that gives us is, now that we've proven we can get a Kerbal to orbit and back, we need to continue to break new barriers. We have a choice of nearby bodies that we can get to. We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. I like that. Then it will give us 400% funds to milestone gains for the moon, minus 80% funds to milestone gains for other bodies. So it really forces us to then focus only on the moon. Just like real life, I think. We had like Apollo, which was obviously only about the moon. Increases likelihood of receiving more contracts for the moon, which is great. Our objectives are to plant a flag on the moon. We have a penalty of $150 million if we cancel it, and a penalty of 500 reputation as well. So it's pretty severe. We'll get $100 million from the global government for this, and then we'll get another 25 million if we succeed. So that's something, right? Cannot have more than one crewed or uncrewed strategy active at a time. We must return the crew, and we must not have performed a crewed flyby of the moon, and we have not done that yet. So that's perfectly good that we install this mod now. So this is the crewed mission tab. This is the uncrewed mission tab. This is for finances, science, public relations, and operations. Let's just have a look at some of these others, like astronaut training. Our standard training procedure is to treat newly hired astronauts as a disposable commodity. Surprised Pikachu face. To greatly reduce the cost of unscheduled disassemblies. Still, some argue that training our astronauts before putting them on top of a ton of explosives will result in a lower mission failure rate. So basically, this means that all the astronauts that we hire now start at level 1 in their training, or their achievements, their skills. This is a nice thing, I like this. What's this one? We need to launch missions of at least 20 tons. What do we get for that though? Oh, we get $40 million if we can launch a vessel with a mass of 20 tons. Interesting. Probe frenzy. Good grief. Free ice cream. Yay! We've come up with a crazy idea, giving out free ice cream at the Space Center. The public will absolutely love this. If we push the program far enough, we'll get better rewards for rescuing Kerbals. They'll get ice cream when they land, yay for snacks, and maybe even get a discount to hiring new astronauts. Free ice cream. So we get... No, it costs us 5,000 funds or $5 million every 30 days. We get a reputation every 30 days and we lose a reputation when it is cancelled. I don't think we'll do that now. Good grief, there's so many things here. Let's go to the contracts. So the thing that I was afraid of was that these might be affected by the Strategia mod, but it looks like they're still all here. So there's a KSC Airlines as well. Good grief, there's so many things. Interplanetary Mountaineers. Yikes, well, we have so many options, right? Stations. Build a new orbital station around Kerbin. I won't do this one because it asks for 4,000 units of fuel. An EVA in solar orbit, forget it. Low resolution Scansat of Minmus. This is an important one. We should do this one, but we have not inserted a satellite around Minmus yet, but I think that is something we need to do. So I've accepted that. Specific orbit, these are our commercial contracts. Polar orbit. I'm going to accept this and I'll tell you why in a moment. Build a new unmanned probe and reach the orbit, so it doesn't have to have anything on it, so I'll accept that. This is for Jeb's Spaceship Parts Company. And the other one that I want now, I've just had a brief look at this before starting to see that it all works, and the DMagic Orbital Sciences company is asking us through experimental engineering to do an actual survey, orbital survey of Kerbin, which I'm very happy to do because this will give us more science. So they want us to return or transmit data from at least 3 of the following experiments. Radio plasma wave scan data from high orbit above Kerbin, a SIGINT scan data from low orbit, magnetometer scan from low orbit, and an orbital telescope observation from low orbit. So this is obviously going to be a polar mission then, which I can combine with a commercial satellite launch, so we can do 2 at once. I like this idea. Then we get to be efficient. So let's do that. Let's focus on Kerbin today, comrades. Obviously our first goal must always be to know more about our home planet. Right, so what's this? Strategy availability changed. New strategies available. Right, that's just informational there. Now, what do we need to do? The one for Jeb is just a basic, very simple satellite. So let's build this thing. Let's make it gold. And really, it can only be this. I mean, the most simplest thing you can imagine. Such a pity we don't have the really small... Well, we do. We have the Oscar B fuel tanks. I'll use this. Fantastic. This is exactly what I want now. Right, so solar panels. This is basically going to be an equivalent of a CubeSat, although it will be obviously an Octosat. Cheap as possible. Actually, we can put this on the tank. We'll mate the tank to the probe permanently. Then I'll possibly do this, or should I not? 4 is really enough. Well, it'll have a slight overhang there, but I think that's alright. Again, it looks slightly more interesting this way. And you can see the strut attaching it there. And it still has these various grids here to access space, to, let's say, vent some temperature and so on. Then I want a, oh yes, this is another mod I installed, but I might remove this one, comrades. It's a one that shows you the indicator lights of various parts. So this one you can see is right down there. If it is transmitting, the indicator light will blink. But other ways that this is supposed to work is through the batteries, so that the lights on the batteries will actually show you if it's empty or full, but it doesn't work for the Restock mod. So that's why I think I'll just remove it, because it is not going to work for its intended purpose. It's only for stock. Right, so there's our little antenna. That's all we need. And then of course a very small engine. The first time we use an ant. That's it. There's no need for anything more than that. So this will give us what? 1400 meters per second. There is Jeb's satellite. What would this be? It's 240, so I think is this a small satellite? Yes, it's not a micro satellite, it's a small satellite. If it's over a ton in real life, it's a large satellite. So this is a small satellite. Right, so the next thing, let's just make sure it's right. Yep, that should do. So that's the first level, but I think we can add more battery power. We'll add just 2. And I'll just put this inside the probe core itself, because it's part of the bus of the satellite. Right, so now it weighs 256 kilos. Now the next step is to start working on our next satellite. Now what can work here? The problem is we only have quite large ones. This one will work, but it's again the two-sided stack separator, so it will float around in space forever. But anyway, we need something that works. Now for the next one I want a larger satellite bus, because I have to now think what are the experiments that we need and how can we integrate them in a nice way. Let's look at some structural elements. No, that's really for crew, so I'm not going to use this. Again, I think I'll speed this up, comrades, because I have to figure this out myself first. So I'll be back with you in a moment. Comrades, I'll just jump back in here. I think what the SIGINT means is the Signals Intelligence Satellite. Now to incorporate this is possible, but I just want to see if I deploy it. Good grief, this is a big... Good grief! This thing is going to be spying on every Kerbal on the planet. Are we sure we want to be doing this? SIGINT scan from low orbit. Good grief. And that's the undersized version. My goodness. Who is this contract for again? It was for the experimental engineering. Yes, we don't want the wrong people or wrong Kerbals to be getting that kind of intelligence gathering. We don't have to do it though, because it's only 3 of the 4 experiments here. So the telescope I'm putting up there in its own little container area. The magnetometer scan will be in its own area, and then the radio plasma one can also go in here. So I'll make them share this. At least then it's all covered and it looks a little bit nicer. Just so we make use of the various service bays. There, so it's attached to the sides, but it doesn't clip out. Let's just extend this and see that it works. No, that doesn't work. Retract. I think what I'll do is I'll put a small strut or something in the middle, or an empty Oscar B tank. Yes, that'll work, and then the two experiments will stick out to the side. No, it's still clipping through there. This is why we test, comrades. There we are, barely. Clearance and clearance by a hair's breadth, but it works. Right, bring it back in. Now on this side I'll do the same here. That just extends straight out. Although the problem is with the boom here, it's not going to fit when it's closed, so I think this will have to be moved slightly up and then back in. That should work. Let's test. Yes, don't want to damage our science experiments. Then the middle tank here is empty. This has the probe and the batteries, of course. And then that's that. And then, of course, if we want to do the signals intelligence. But I feel like a satellite like this should be its own thing, really. This is not a kind of civilian satellite. I don't know, because there's no military on Kerbal. So I guess, why would you want to do signals intelligence? Don't want to think too hard about this stuff. I guess we can add it. Why not? Alright, we'll do that. Then I was also thinking now, we'll obviously have to transmit that or return it, but I want to keep this stuff in orbit in case we need to do these kinds of experiments again. But now, how big is this? Could I add a solar collector as well? No, it's gonna... No, that will have to be for a future mission. Close that. And actually then, open this again. Let's add the antenna in here. We also now get this quadruple high gain antenna, which comes from the Restock Plus mod. There's no way that this is gonna work quite nicely. So I guess we'll just use an integrated antenna. Check that it fits nicely. Oops, that's why we check. As long as it's in there. This is low Kerbal orbit or high Kerbal orbit. That's perfectly fine. Right, so now it just sticks right there through the two of them, so we can close this bay. Actually, also, let's go out. I'm not going to save. We'll come back right now. I just want to see if there's new parts to buy. We seem to have a very booming subcontractor market. There's already one. This is an indicator light. Doesn't seem to achieve much, but we'll probably find out what it's for later on. $500,000. Fine, buy it. This one is the various surface mounted lights. This is nice, $2.4 million, and now again we're up to date. And the reason I was looking now for this is because I want to put one of these lights in the bay. Just because we don't always want to use the big lights for this. Not gonna put it where the telescope is because that needs darkness. So... utility, yes, there's like an omni light. Let's put two of them here, just to see what they're like. You see, it's a sort of muted little light. Let's make it kind of bluish, just so it's extra fancy. Right, close that. Now we have also this, we can transmit the data, and we just have to launch this now. And it has to have its own engine because it will need to shift between high and low orbit. Right now it weighs only 1.8 tons, so I'll use one of the small ones and then possibly a Pug again. The Pug does not have the efficiency of the Terrier engine, 345 versus 330, but the Pug is 100 kilograms lighter than the Terrier. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. This will be perfectly fine. That already gives us 1,400 meters per second, which is fine. Right, so then we'll transmit the data. The other thing I was thinking of possibly doing, but oh yes, the heat shield thing. Now I'm thinking, should we do this? Maybe I'll do this. This is really extra. The good thing also about Restock is we can pack these things together now, open them, and then you see we have this middle part. Now we just remove the caps from both sides. Now there's a hole in the middle. I can put it back. No, I don't want to put it back here, just because I want to put a return craft here. We are going to return this data. We're not going to transmit it because the intelligence data as well is a bit sensitive. We don't want to do that, you know, for various reasons. I think I'll put a docking clamp on that just so we reduce space debris possibly. Something like that. No, well, let me now think about this. Or we'll just use a decoupler. Stack separator anyway. Right, now we need an engine again, so I'll use the Ant. Now we need a fuel tank, so we'll use the Oscar B. Now we'll need a probe. Oh, actually, this is quite difficult because I'll have to imagine what the mass distribution will be of the probe. And we'll need a bigger container area, and then somehow I'll have to work this thing out of it. Right, so that's going to return the thing. Then I'll need another stack separator. Then I'll need the micro heat shield, which was added by was that also the Restock Plus mod? I think so. Then I want the let me think. Do I first need this? This weighs 100 kilos. The return science module weighs, good grief, where is this thing? 50 kilos. No, but is that's carried on a jetpack? But you don't have to carry it on a jetpack. This is the thing that we normally get. So that's the lighter one, so we want that to go onto the top. So we first want the probe core, so the thing is also aerodynamic. Then this has to go on the top of that. Eesh, it's not gonna fit here. How I'll get it out, I have no idea. Time warp probably. Wish I could remove all of these middle segments, but we don't have a larger bay yet. What's this container? No, it doesn't open, it's a storage container. Although, maybe instead of all of this, good grief, we're getting technical here. Take all of this, throw it away, use a airstream thing. Fairing, not clamshell, give us the truss structure with the interstage nodes. Put it on the top, so it's still going to be attached with a fuel tank on the bottom, but then we just split that off. Yes, that's much better. Much better, there we go. Then we'll have the experiment module on the top. and then we'll have a parachute on top of that. Whether this will work, I have no idea, but we'll try, right? This looks kind of strange. I wonder if I can put an Oscar B tank over that. We also get the larger Oscar B tanks with the Restock Plus mod. Take all of that out, move it down. Although, I think I'll do this anyway. Sure, why not? That'll help protect it, at least for the most part. That doesn't look bad at all. Right, so then that will return, and I will definitely put this on hibernate in a warp. Don't use its power. This will have minimal power just to return. And then of course we'll have dual-sided clamshell deploy with quite a high ejection force. That will deploy as we are going up. Right, there's our basic thing. Now I don't think we'll have a fairing on the top there. This might be a bit too much. This all weighs 4 tons, so okay, all the staging is messed up, of course. Let's just throw that on the top. This one will fire first. Then I'll put the fairing. And the rest we'll do manually, just so we don't mess anything up. Right, move back up. Now open one of our, don't save actually, cancel. We can now use the sub-assemblies again. They'll still be valid, the Paragons, because of the Restock mod being reinstalled. Now that gives us 2.5 tons to low Kerbal orbit. We have 4 tons, but it should still work because it has its own fuel. That's quite a tall thing, but okay. That sometimes happens. Doesn't want to complete the fairing. Right, now we just have to move this up. Like that. There we are, comrades. So I'll say with the thing here to auto strut that, and to auto strut this as well, just so it's safe during the launch. This is a very unconventional rocket, but anyway, I think we'll also launch this from our remote facility in the north, just because this is a bit of a secret, you know, the intelligence satellite. We don't want people to know, which is now actually quite clever, because we can use the science payload as a cover to say this is really a science satellite. It will give us telescope data, etc., etc. But meanwhile, there's a hidden purpose as well. So let's just say this is going to fire, that's going to fire, this is not going to fire now. Yeesh, everything is strange. So where are you? Up here. We'll fire them at the same time. This does have a fairing though. What if I do build a fairing here? Probably won't go high enough. Or it will. Right. No, 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 no. What are you doing? Okay, there is now a very, very oversized fairing, but anyway. So then that fires, then we are probably going to get rid of this massive fairing here. Then that will separate. Then that will fire, and then we will go from there. Now this is going to be again a dual mission for both low and high orbit. So I think this will definitely be high. So we'll say this is Echo and then something. Now I don't know what Echo this will be. I've forgotten. So we had 2 and 3. So this will probably be 3 and 4. But if it's not, then I'll renumber it again. So I'll just say, Wait, was that 2 and 3? Oh, good grief. 2 and 3, so this is 4 and 5. 4 and 5 for now. We'll always reclassify it later. I just want to make sure everything is good. So yes, we will just get the name of our comrade. And today's mission is sponsored by, or is rather named after, Comrade Mickey Cat. So welcome, Comrade Mickey Cat. It's good to have you join us here. And now it is time to do our launch. So I'll save this again. Go to our secret facility, which we have just completed up in the peninsula there. We don't really know what it's called, but it kind of reminds me of the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. And this is away from prying eyes. Come on. It's thinking about it. Right, and it's night. That's even better, you know, for a secret launch. So, the next thing is, of course, we do have to meet a particular requirement. This is for the Jeb's satellite. Now, that means, where are we now? We are here. So, it goes then what? Down. So, we're going to have to launch south. That's fine. We'll go over the ocean then. Then I just need us to roughly get there. Is that right, more or less? More or less. We'll make changes as we go. Right, comrades. 3, 2, 1, ignition. And that's one of the things you can see. The Real Plume mod doesn't always like the Restock mod. There's evidence of that. I might have to remove it after all, because Restock has its own plume effects. Anyway, we'll just keep launching, and now I have to go south, but not directly south, because we still have to counteract the planet's rotation as well. So far, so good. Dramatic mountains. Right, I'll see you in space, comrades. Uh-oh, abort the mission. I did a big mistake here. Revert flight to launch. There was a big mistake. I knew it was too good to be true. Ish. That's the thing with the sub-assembly. You always have to go over everything twice. This separation of this stage is not happening here. There it is. Right, now, then that one goes, then that, just make sure there's nothing else. See that these also have to go at that point. When that thing separates here, we also have to fire those 2 parachutes. Good grief. Anyway, let's try again, comrades. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. See you in space, comrades. Now, comrades, I'm going to have to revert again. Not only did I go too shallowly, when I reverted to launch the last time, I forgot to rotate to the right point in the orbit. Ish, double loss. This time I must not go so shallowly. And second of all, most importantly, see, now I have to do all of this again. Ish. Right, that should do now. But the most important thing is, of course, this. It's not aligned. That should help. F5 now. Right, this time I'll see you for sure in space. Let's hope. Right, comrades, we are here. Another discovery. The pug doesn't do gimbling, so just keep that in mind, but it works. So here we are, finally in a stable orbit. That upper stage, was it the Aurora, I think we called it, was quite good, but you know, it has to struggle a bit with all this weight, but it certainly did quite well. So here we are. Now, the thing is to separate these fairings. Let's hope that goes well. F5. And there it is. So now our return vehicle is also safe and ready to do its work. So I think, let's just check where we are. We are 2 degrees off from the target. So that's easy enough to repair, I think. Now, should we separate that right now? I think so, probably. Hopefully we'll have enough fuel. So decouple that, and there it goes. So the question is, do we try and fix this now, or do we first... No, we first have to increase the orbit. So let's do that. So it will go out on this side. We can always make the inclination change once most of the orbit is done. It's much cheaper that way. But I'm a bit dubious on the amount of fuel that we have. I'm hopeful, but anyway, I'll speak to you again in just a moment. Right, comrades, it looks like that 2-degree difference is perfectly acceptable to Jeb. So his satellite is now in orbit, and it's quite a high orbit now. How long it's going to remain here is anyone's guess, because it will eventually impact the moon, or its orbit will be changed by the moon. But for now it is out here, and he has paid us, or his company has paid us $80 million for this. We also recovered 2 of the stages of this Mickey Cat mission. So I'll just switch this off, shut down engine, and rename this. Right, so this is not going to be an Echo. This is JebSat 1. And this will be named after, I think, Hazardish. That's another KSP YouTuber. And I'll accept this. We'll change this into debris later on, but for now this is a successful commercial mission. Now back to our secret mission, or partially secret mission. Yes, we'll see what we have to do here. Right, now just switch back to free camera. And so we need at least 3 of those missions. So open this. Let's aim the camera there. Log your visual observations. A few trees are visible scattered on the surface, so we'll keep that. And then we have to open this one. Oh, I also have to remember, good grief, we have to do this at certain points. So that's fine, that's low orbit. The magnetometer must also be from low orbit. Start the ore scan. No, just normal magnetometer. Initial scans indicate a large magnetic field surrounding Kerbal. Its intensity decreases with increasing altitude. That's interesting. Then we also need the signals intelligence from low orbit. So deploy the dish. Good grief, this is like, wow. What's that James Bond film, Diamonds of Forever or something? They use that one gigantic satellite. Anyway. Right, collect radio data. Significant levels of radio chatter are picked up on Kerbal, a surprising amount of which seems to be focused on spacecraft communications. Keep that experiment. Good grief. We'll keep this, of course. I think that's all we can do, the radio plasma one later, but this is, we only have to do 3 of them for now. So I think this is just crazy. That's intense. Let's capture all of this science data. Aim the camera. Now clicking on the thing is quite difficult. Collect all of the experiments. There they are, all from low Kerbal's orbit. Should we do the other one? Why not? Can I retract this? Doesn't look like it. Aim camera autostrut disable science transmission. Collect radio data, require complete or transmit. I don't think we can retract this dish, and I'm certainly not going to burn with this like this. Oh well, let's just return home then. Right, make sure this thing has its power switched on and detach. Now switch to that thing. And somehow get us out of here before our power runs out. And return. Let's hope this works, eh? Oh, that was a catastrophe. We ate the dish. Oh well, it'll survive, I think. We didn't go very fast at that point. Yikes. Oh well, we can still use it for spying. And then, just as long as we re-enter. Right, that'll be just fine. Just check the power for now. It will be on the night side. Don't really know where that will be. But of course our ships will be there waiting for it. Now the next thing is I'm probably going to have to trigger the parachute again. Just so that it is not going to be an issue with the power. So F5 this. Trigger the parachute, but it will only open when we're in the atmosphere. Detach this thing. And now hope for the best. See you on the ground, comrades, if this works. Good grief, comrades, we're still alive. There goes the lower part of the probe. I also added the enhanced particle effects mod for re-entry, as you can see. Yikes, hopefully that saved us just long enough. So the engine, or the probe itself blew up, but that's okay. The heat shield protected us just long enough, so now we have the parachute and the science part with its protective cover, of course. We'll see what this does. Now I have, of course, no control, so hopefully it will re-enter safely. No, it's not going to happen because the parachute is facing forward, which is too aerodynamic. So maybe it's not going to slow down fast enough, I think. Yikes, nah, it's not going to happen. Oh well, it was an interesting experiment, right? Our first attempt at doing this kind of science retrieval. No, wait. Oh my god, it's gonna work. Oh, good grief, by the skin of our teeth. 60 meters left while it stabilizes. Can you believe that? That's an epic finish to this mission. What's that in the background there? It's a star. Alright. Good grief. Right, and there we splash down. No need to even time warp. There it is. Stunning, comrades. Amazing. We can do anything if we put our minds to it, right? All the other parts were destroyed. That's fine. Let's recover this now and see if we complete the contract. Good grief. That must be the most epic thing that's ever happened in this campaign. Did we get it? We did. It looks like it. So we got science there. That's great from all of those, including the most important being the intelligence scan. That's why we don't want to transmit the findings from that, because then others can intercept that data. But anyway, contract complete. Orbital telescope. Okay, this was destroyed. That's fine. Magnetometer scan, we got that. The signals intelligence scan, and we completed 55 million. Plus, we now have more strategies available. Fantastic, comrades. What a happy finish to this mission. I will see you next time. Have a fantastic day, comrades, and weekend as well.